what if the biggest threat to your ultimate goal isn't actually failure?
Oh, that's a big question right out of the gate.
Right. But think about it. What if it's rather this, deeply ingrained belief that you have to take a massive heroic leap today just to prove you're even trying?
Yeah, I mean, we see that all the time. People feel like if it isn't huge, it doesn't count.
Exactly. Like usually when we look at a map for a cross-country road trip, we just see that thick blue line connecting point A to point B.
It looks so incredibly straightforward.
It really does. You see the origin, you see the destination, and the route itself just looks like, well, one singular uninterrupted event.
Right, it's that grand trajectory. From thousands of feet up, the journey is perfectly smooth.
Yeah, no bumps at all.
The map doesn't show you the traffic jams or the blown tires or the exhaustion. It just gives you this romantic ideal of the trip.
And it is completely deceiving because
Right.
when you are actually behind the wheel,
You never experience the blue line.
never. You experience thousands of individual, sometimes intensely tedious miles. You experience the potholes, the sudden detours, and there's endless hypnotic stretches of flat highway.
Where it feels like you aren't making any headway at all.
Yes, even though you're going 60 miles an hour, you feel stuck.
It's the disconnect between the macro vision and the micro reality. I mean, we love the macro vision.
Oh, we obsess over
We
it.
plan for it, we dream about it, we put it on our vision boards, but we actually have to live and execute in the micro reality.
Wood is way harder.
Way harder. And that friction, the sheer difficulty of maintaining the big picture while doing the mundane daily work, that is what tears most ambitious projects apart.
Exactly. Without every single one of those microscopic revolutions of the tire, you never actually arrive anywhere.
You're just sitting in the driveway.
Right. And that tension is exactly what we are exploring today. So welcome to this deep dive.
Glad to be here.
Today, we are looking at a piece of source material that is, quite honestly, the shortest text we have ever tackled on the show.
It is incredibly brief.
But philosophically, it provides an absolute masterclass in navigating that exact tension between grand ambitions and daily execution.
It really does. We are looking at a few selected excerpts from a short piece titled The Momentum of Small Steps.
And when we say short, we mean short.
Yeah, the entirety of the source text we are analyzing today boils down to just 3 sentences.
Just 3.
But sometimes it's the most concise texts that require the deepest level of reflection to truly understand their mechanical impact on our lives.
3 sentences. But the mission for our deep dive today is to intensely analyze the implications of those 3 sentences.
We really need to pull them apart.
We want to unpack how this text systematically dismantles our modern obsession with massive overnight success. Okay, let's unpack this.
Let's do it.
Because while the source material is, like you said, incredibly brief, it contains a literal blueprint for sustainable achievement.
In a culture that practically worships the giant leap, the viral moment.
The sudden dramatic transformation.
Right, this text asks us to fundamentally reorient our perspective. It forces us to look under the hood at the unglamorous mechanics of how real, lasting change is actually manufactured.
So let's start with the first excerpt from the source. The author writes, quote, "Small progress is still progress."
It sounds so simple.
It does. Now, on the surface, that sounds a bit like a motivational poster you'd see hanging in a corporate break room.
Next to the picture of the rowing team.
Exactly. But we need to look closer at the psychology of it. It makes me think of the classic change jar analogy, but, with a bit of a twist.
Get laid on me.
Think about dropping a spare penny into a massive, empty glass jar. On day 1, you drop it in, and it makes this sad little clink.
Just echoing in there.
Yeah. And looking at it sitting alone at the bottom, it feels entirely worthless. Your brain looks at that penny and says, this is mathematically insignificant to my financial goals.
That is the exact cognitive dissonance the text is targeting. The physical reality of the jar is technically changing.
Right, you have more money than you did yesterday.
Exactly. You are wealthier than you were a second ago. But our psychological perception refuses to log it as a win.
We just don't see it that way.
Because human beings are notoriously bad at intuitively calculating the value of incremental accumulation. Our dopamine systems are wired for, immediate high-contrast rewards.
We want the jackpot.
We do. If your goal is to save $10,000, a single penny doesn't trigger any reward circuitry whatsoever.
And that's where I want to push on this idea a bit, because the truth is, Small progress feels incredibly frustrating for the listener.
Oh, absolutely.
If you, listening right now, are staring down a massive, intimidating goal like learning a completely new language or writing a 400-page novel,
Or trying to dig yourself out of deep financial debt.
yes, validating a small step feels almost delusional.
It feels like you're lying to yourself.
Right, like if I'm trying to learn Spanish and today I only learned how to say hello.
You're not exactly fluent.
No. I still can't navigate a train station in Madrid. I am still functionally lost. So how does a learner reconcile honestly, the humiliation of the small step with the magnitude of the final goal?
What's fascinating here is how the author uses language to force a manual override of that exact frustration.
A manual override, I like that.
Yeah, look at the specific inclusion of the word still. The text doesn't just offer the platitude, small progress is progress.
Right, it adds that one word.
It explicitly commands that small progress is still progress. That one word is doing immense heavy lifting.
It really changes the tone, doesn't it?
It's an acknowledgement of the frustration you just described.
Yeah.
The author knows you feel delusional. They know society conditions us to only throw parties for the monumental milestones.
Right, like the graduation.
The book launch. The
Uh-huh.
final mortgage payment.
Yeah, nobody brings you a cake because you paid off $5 of your student loan.
Or wrote a single paragraph of a rough draft.
Exactly. I wish they did, but they don't.
By explicitly stating, is still progress, the author is granting us explicit external permission to validate our microactions.
To say, hey, this counts.
Right. They are giving us a cognitive behavioral tool to interrupt the shame spiral of being a beginner. We all know the pitfalls of the all-or-nothing mindset.
Oh, the all-or-nothing trap.
It's a trap anyone who follows personal development is intimately familiar with. But what the author does here is fascinating because they aren't just telling us to avoid that trap.
They are explicitly demanding that we redefine our coordinates entirely.
Precisely.
The all-or-nothing trap. We know it so well, but we fall for it anyway because, I don't know, the grand failure somehow feels more dignified than the tiny effort.
It's an ego protection thing.
It is. It's that voice that says, well, I only have 15 minutes to work out today, and since I can't do my full hour-long routine and get a real sweat in, I might as well just sit on the couch.
I think everyone has had that exact thought.
We willingly choose absolute zero because the available progress feels embarrassingly small.
Which is a complete distortion of reality. The all-or-nothing binary categorizes anything short of a massive leap as a failure.
Right.
But progress isn't a light switch. It's not on or off, it's a dial. The author is reminding you that a microscopic shift in the right direction still fundamentally alters your trajectory.
It changes the math.
Exactly. Even if it's just 1 degree, you are mathematically no longer in the same place you started.
I think we need to ground this in reality for a second. Think about your own life today. What tiny, mathematically insignificant wins have you unfairly dismissed simply because they didn't feel, big enough to brag about?
That's a great question to ask yourself.
Did you draft just one difficult email you've been putting off? Did you read a single paragraph of that dense industry report?
Or even just drink 1 glass of water instead of automatically pouring a 3rd cup of coffee.
Right. We toss these moments away like spare pennies, but the source is demanding that we pick them back up and recognize they are the actual currency of change.
Recognizing that value is the foundational hurdle. You have to intellectually accept that the penny matters.
Because if you don't...
Because once you force your brain to accept that small progress counts, you unlock the mechanism that makes those small steps so incredibly powerful.
Which transitions us perfectly into the second critical phase of the source material.
Yes, moving from the what to the how.
Right, which shifts us from merely acknowledging the value of a small step to understanding the physical engine that actually drives it forward.
The momentum.
Exactly. The title of the piece is The Momentum of Small Steps, and the second excerpt is simply 2 words, quote, keep moving.
Keep moving.
Here's where it gets really interesting. It instantly brings to mind the mechanics of riding a bicycle.
Oh, this is a perfect analogy.
If you've ever taught a kid to ride a bike or, tried to relearn yourself, you know that the absolute hardest, most terrifying part is when you are moving too slowly.
The infamous wobble.
The wobble, it's awful.
Yeah.
When you are barely creeping along at 2 miles an hour, you have no gyroscopic stability.
Every single pebble in the road feels like a mountain.
Yes. The handlebars violently shake, And your immediate biological instinct is to put your feet down on the pavement because you feel incredibly unstable.
You just want to stop to feel safe.
But the cruel irony of the bicycle is that the only way to gain stability is to pedal. If you stop pedaling to feel safe, you lose your balance entirely and you crash.
It's totally counterintuitive.
It is. And what strikes me about the text's command to keep moving is the complete absence of a speed requirement.
Right, they don't say how fast.
The author doesn't say pedal faster, just that motion must exist.
That distinction is absolutely vital to understanding the text. It's not a mandate to sprint or to accelerate or to, hit your personal best.
Just keep moving.
Just keep moving.
Yeah.
If we connect this to the bigger picture and look at the relationship between the title, the momentum of small steps, and this command, we start to see a profound insight into human behavioral physics.
Oh, I like where this is going.
Momentum relies on continuous action. But psychologically, taking a small step doesn't just inch you forward geographically. It actually manufactures the psychological energy required to take the next step.
Wait, I want to make sure we really highlight that. You're saying the action itself creates the fuel for future action?
Yes. And this is where most well-intentioned people operate completely backward.
How so?
We are conditioned to wait until we feel motivated before we take action. We sit around at our desks waiting for this mystical lightning bolt of inspiration to strike us so we can finally feel ready to start writing.
Or coding, or, I don't know, cleaning the garage.
Exactly. But the author's focus on momentum flips that paradigm on its head. Motivation doesn't produce action. Action produces motivation.
Yeah, it's so huge.
You take the smallest possible step, you just open the laptop document, and that tiny physical reality of having started creates a tiny spark of momentum.
And that lowers the friction.
It lowers the friction for typing the first word, which lowers the friction for the first sentence.
It's basically Sir Isaac Newton translated for personal development.
It really is.
Like, the law of inertia states that a body at rest stays at rest, but a body in motion, no matter how agonizingly slow or wobbly that motion is, stays in motion.
It's the exact same principle. Inertia is a powerful, invisible force working in both directions.
Right.
The friction required to move from a state of total rest to a state of motion is incredibly high. It takes a massive amount of cognitive, emotional, and physical energy just to begin a task.
Just to put the gym shoes on.
Yes. But once you are moving, even at a glacial pace, the laws of physics stop fighting you and start working with you.
Yeah.
Stop relying on willpower, and you start utilizing momentum.
And relying on willpower is a losing game anyway.
Oh, completely.
Willpower is a heavily finite resource. You wake up, the tank is full, but by 2 p.m., after navigating traffic, making 100 micro decisions at work, and dealing with everyday stress,
The willpower tank is completely empty.
completely. If your strategy relies on summoning a massive surge of willpower to take giant leaps every day, you will inevitably burn out and fail.
It's just not sustainable.
But if you rely on momentum, you don't need much willpower at all. You just need enough energy to nudge the pedals one single time to keep the bike from falling over.
Which perfectly explains why the text emphasizes the small steps in its title. A large, ambitious step requires a massive withdrawal from your willpower account.
Right.
A microscopic step just requires a slight lean forward. And when you string 1,000 microscopic steps together using the engine of momentum, you will eventually cross a distance that you could never have cleared with a single willpower-fueled leap.
It fundamentally changes how you view a productive day. It really does. But that brings us to the final sentence of our source material.
The warning.
Yeah, and it's a surprisingly stark warning. After validating the small step and explaining the engine of momentum, the text delivers a firm ultimatum against stagnation.
It pulls no punches here.
The final excerpt is just 2 words, quote, "Don't stop."
Don't stop.
So, what does this all mean? I'm genuinely hung up on this part. Why did the author feel the necessity to follow the phrase "keep moving" with the absolute command "don't stop"?
They sound similar.
Right. On a surface read, it feels a bit redundant. Are they just hammering the point home for dramatic effect? Or is there a functional psychological difference between telling someone to keep moving and then telling them not to stop?
It's definitely not a repetition, and recognizing the difference is crucial. This raises an important question about the nature of friction and the devastating cost of recovery.
A cost of recovery, okay.
Keep moving is a positive instruction. It's about maintaining your current state of flow, however slow it might be. Don't stop is a severe defensive warning about the consequences of losing that state entirely.
Losing the momentum.
Right. Think back to what we just discussed about the physics of inertia. Starting from absolute zero is by far the most energy-intensive and psychologically draining part of any endeavor.
It's the activation energy.
Precisely. In chemistry, activation energy is the minimum amount of energy required to start a reaction.
Okay, bringing in the science. I love it.
In human behavior, the activation energy required to go from 0 to 1 is exponentially greater than the energy required to go from 1 to 2 or 2 to 10.
Wow, yeah.
If you completely stop what you are doing, you don't just put harmless pause on your progress.
You actively kill your momentum.
You kill it.
Yeah.
You let the fire go entirely cold.
Mm.
And the danger is that when you finally want to resume, you aren't just magically picking up where you left off.
You're starting all over again.
You have to expend all of that massive activation energy all over again just to overcome the inertia of rest. The author's command to not stop is a desperate warning against voluntarily resetting your momentum back to zero.
Because owning it back is just exhausting.
It's a plea to protect your momentum at all costs.
That resonates on such a painful level. Just think about the universal experience of going to the gym.
Oh, the classic example.
If you manage to go consistently, even if you're just doing light, half-hearted workouts, it just becomes part of the fabric of your day.
It's just a thing you do.
Right. The momentum carries you through the front doors. But if you get a mild cold or you go on a week-long vacation and you completely stop going,
It's over.
my goodness. Trying to get back into the gym on that first Monday back feels like trying to physically push a mountain.
The weights feel twice as heavy
The psychological drive is completely gone and the friction is immense.
because the momentum died. You invited inertia back into your routine, and now you are paying the tax of starting from absolute zero.
But wait, looking at the literal phrasing of the text again, I'm realizing there's a massive implication in what the author chose not to say.
What do you mean?
The author makes an absolute rule, don't stop. But look at what's missing. They never say don't slow down.
Oh, that is the hidden genius of the text. It's an incredibly vital omission.
It functionally creates a permission structure for rest. Because if the only absolute unforgivable rule is don't stop, that means the source material leaves complete room for slowing down.
It leaves room for crawling.
It leaves room for those days where you are so profoundly exhausted, mentally or physically, that taking a normal, productive step feels literally impossible.
Right.
The text isn't demanding relentless, punishing, toxic productivity. It's just demanding that you do not come to a complete 0 miles per hour halt.
And that is the hidden grace within this philosophy. It accommodates the messy, unavoidable reality of the human condition.
We aren't machines.
No, we aren't. You will inevitably have seasons of high energy where your steps are broad, swift, and highly productive. But you will also have days of severe burnout, grief, distraction, or overwhelm.
We all have those days.
On those days, your step might simply be opening a document, staring at it for 5 minutes, writing a single terrible sentence, and closing it.
And that counts.
The author is validating both states. Slowing down to a microscopic crawl isn't a failure. It is a highly effective survival strategy.
Because you aren't at zero.
Exactly. By taking that one tiny action, you are still protecting the momentum. You are keeping the ember alive, even if it's barely glowing, so that you don't have to strike a new match tomorrow.
Protecting the momentum. I love viewing it through that lens. It turns progress into something fragile that you nurture, rather than something heavy that you are forced to carry.
That's a beautiful way to put it.
If you just commit to the one rule of not hitting absolute zero, you completely remove the heavy guilt of the slow days. You didn't fail today just because you only read one page instead of a whole chapter.
You successfully followed the prime directive.
You didn't stop.
And if we look at this over the span of a lifetime, the math is undeniable. The person who slows down to a crawl during difficult seasons, but purposefully never allows themselves to hit absolute zero,
They win in the long run.
they will infinitely outpace the person who sprints brilliantly for a month, burns out, stops completely, and then spends an entire year trying to muster the activation energy to begin again.
Consistency over intensity.
Consistency, even microscopic, embarrassing consistency, will always defeat sporadic intensity.
This is such a powerful, pragmatic framework. Let's synthesize exactly what we've discovered in this deep dive, because we took 3 incredibly simple sentences and unpacked a comprehensive philosophy of action.
It really is comprehensive.
First, the source reminds us that we have to manually override our brain's dopamine expectations. We have to shatter the all-or-nothing illusion and explicitly validate the microscopic wins, the single pennies in the jar. Small progress is still progress.
Second, we have to understand that this redefined progress is powered by the physical laws of momentum. We cannot wait for fleeting, unpredictable motivation to strike us before we act.
Right, the motivation comes after.
We have to recognize that the small action itself is the generator of motivation. We keep pedaling the bicycle no matter how much the handlebars shake to maintain our balance.
And finally, we have to view complete stagnation hitting absolute zero as the only true enemy of our goals. The text's final ultimatum, don't stop, isn't a demand for endless high-speed grinding.
It's a protective boundary.
It's a reminder that we can slow down, we can rest, and we can take steps so small they are barely visible to the naked eye as long as we do not let the fire of our momentum go entirely cold.
So for you listening right now, whatever massive project, whatever daunting learning goal or complex personal challenge you are facing today, hear this. You do not need to make a giant leap today.
You really don't.
You are not required to completely transform your life by sundown. You are only required to take the smallest, most manageable step possible to keep the momentum alive.
Just one step.
Validate that tiny step,
Yeah.
recognize its mathematical value, and trust the physics of the process.
It is so freeing to look at our daily ambitions through this lens. It removes so much of the unnecessary pressure we place on ourselves.
It really takes the weight off.
But as we wrap up, I want to leave you with one final lingering question to mull over on your own. We spent a lot of time today talking about the fear of failure, the fear that we won't have what it takes to reach the ultimate finish line.
Which is a very common fear.
Right. But building on the deep counterintuitive wisdom of this short text, what if the greatest threat to your ultimate goal isn't actually failure?
Okay.
What if the greatest threat is your own perfectionism, the toxic inner voice that convinces you a small step isn't worth taking at all?
Wow. It's a profound thought to sit with. The relentless pursuit of the perfect step is often the exact thing that prevents us from taking the actual step.
Because when you zoom back out to that map of your cross-country road trip, you realize the grand romantic journey is nothing more than a million invisible, sometimes tedious moments of keeping the wheels turning.
Every big journey is just small steps.
Even the most majestic blue line is just made of small, relentless steps. Keep moving. We'll catch you on the next deep dive.